This is another entry into the Is It Still Worth It playlist. This is where I take a look at a piece of Quo memorabilia or a release from years gone by and ask the question, is it still worth picking up in 2024? Now, one subject that I haven't really covered that much over the last 5 years is the subject of the Young and Moody band, a band which brought together Bob Young, who co-wrote many big songs with Francis Rossi and other members of Status Quo over the years. He's also lent his harmonica on many occasions, as well as appearing as the vocalist for Quo on an episode of The Beat Club for a version of Need Your Love. Mickey Moody of Whitesnake, Juicy Lucy and Snafu, the band which Mickey was in when he first met Bob Young, apparently, although they may have had connections prior to that. Snafu were supporting Quo in the mid-70s, and that is apparently where they first met, and they started collaborating together, forming what is known as the Young and Moody band. Something which is, if you go in there looking for Quo, you're not really going to find it. There's little edges of it, but it's more along the blues side. There's a bit of kind of 70s funk in there. You've got a lot of slide guitar. There's, different kind of things. Obviously, there's that country influence, which Bob Young brings in spades. And they released a few singles, some of which I may talk about in just a moment. One album, as far as I know, Young and Moody in 1977, got a very memorable image on the front, which shows them walking through a park with lots of paper around and Bob trying to reach up and catch one. Very striking cover. I've never actually seen one in person, but I have looked at it on the screen many a time. Now, when I first discovered that this was a thing, I was very excited because you've probably guessed by now, as well as loving the music of Status Quo, I love seeing what the components that make up this band that I love go on to do with other people. How does it change their songwriting? What's the style they do? And in Bob's case, you get to hear him sing, and it really suits the material, in my opinion. So I was looking around, looking for an album to buy, and this must have been early 2010, late 2009. And I pick up this one from 1996. This is on the Buried Treasure label. This is called Bob Young, Mickey Moody, The Nearest Hits album. It's basically a selection of tracks from the album that they made, plus a few other extras, including two singles, one from the early 80s, which was used as part of a campaign and then re-recorded. I believe Graham Bonnet did the vocals on the advert for Levi's, and Ed Hamilton did the vocals for These Eyes. Also, Don't Do That is on there too, which was a collaboration between the Young and Moody band, Lemmy, Cozy Powell, and the Nolan sisters. I mean, supergroup right there. Really rocking track as well. Believe it might be Ed Hamilton on lead vocal. Might be wrong though. But there's lots of other things there. It ends with a version of Mean Girl, obviously the Status Quo song written by Rossi Young in the early 70s. So when I first picked this up, I was delighted, right? Because it wasn't really around. I think they'd released the first album, but, I wasn't really into looking. This just came up, bought it. And literally a few months later, there was a better album which came along, I think so anyway, a 2-disc compilation with a lot more recordings on it, a lot more rarities, other bits and pieces that they had around. I don't think These Eyes is on it though, called Back for the Last Time Again on the Trapeze label, which was a revelation. I still 14 years later, still haven't bought it. Need to correct that one of these days. I listened on Spotify a lot. Like, I love their music. And so both of these albums were really important. However, really the question is this still worth picking up? Because I did think that. You know, why did I pick this up when I could have waited a few months and got the other one? And to be honest, I say this one now is apparently worth something on eBay. I feel like I paid maybe £5 or £6 for it. It's on there for like £20, £25 now, so it's obviously a tiny bit more rare, right? So that's probably on the negative for, like, if you see it, well, you know, it all depends on your preference, as it does with all of these things. So let's try and get a clear and concise answer to this. So if you're looking for the material, I would say if you want to get the material in a physical format, buy Back for the Last Time Again, which has a new version of that album cover on it with the older Young and Moody trying to grab up to pictures of the young and Moody. I mean, it's brilliant. You know, it's a great concept. That is 2 discs. That's got more stuff on it. It's probably been remastered in a different way as well. I would say if you had to choose between them, then go ahead. If you go ahead and do that one. If you're looking for, if you happen to be at a car boot sale and you see this cheap, pick it up, because it is a piece of Young and Moody history. Their material has scarcely got a release on physical media. I'm sure there's going to be many people in the comments section who will tell me different, but, you know, I'm learning all the time. So yeah, is this still worth it in 2024? Depends on your preferences, but I would err towards the other one. So yeah, this Young and Moody, the Nearest Hits album. Have you got it? Have you been thinking of buying it? Have you bought the other one? What do you think of Young and Moody's material? Do you have a favourite track that isn't Don't Do That? Do let me know. For me, it's probably, I don't know, All the Good Friends or Don't Want to Lose You Now. I love those two. I will tell you why, perhaps, in a future episode. Thanks for watching this episode of the Quo-Cast. Bye-bye for now.